Hello. John D, what's up, brother? David in the house. What's going on, cats? Just wait till a couple people pop in here, man. Do some chit chatting. What's up, Freedom Fighter? Batman. You got the StreamYard link for whoever wants to pop in. I'm hosting this on my phone because I get crap signal on my laptop outside here for some reason. I don't know what the deal is. Hey, Brooke. Batman, Brandon, Sci-Fi, Two Hemisphere Viewer. What's happening? SC, you got a membership earlier, SC. Awesome. Papa, what's up, Papa? Angel K, Butt Phone, Joe Smuggled in. Hey, Res Watch Audits. Ain't nothing going on. We just did a premiere just a little bit ago, and some folks said they wanted a live stream, so I said, well, heck, let's do a live stream. You know what I mean? Let's see what everyone has to say, see what's up. We can talk a little bit about going forward on this channel. For those of you that don't already know, I'm posting audits on my new channel, Majorly Awesome. And so on this channel, I'll be doing my live streams. I'll be posting my 360 audits here because I do have my 360 camera. That'll be up and running while I'm out auditing. I'll be posting stories here, different stuff, stuff like I posted earlier tonight. Hey, Cookie, what's going on? Yeah, definitely stuff like what Cookie's doing. If you guys haven't seen her stuff, definitely check her out. A lot of bad stuff going on, and that's another thing I want to talk about going forward. I want our live panels here to be discussions about ideals about how to move forward when these folks are out here violating us. And part of that was because of the discussion I had earlier on the phone with Cookie about her being blocked from the Polk County Sheriff's website, their Facebook. And she says they've blocked a lot of people. They've sent her a list of blocked people on their Facebook page. And so they're going to continue this kind of behavior until we start suing these folks. So for those of you interested in making a little bit of side money, go on your Facebook page and then go to Polk County and start laying into them about how they're restricting people's, free speech, how they're dirty, corrupt pigs, and take screenshots. And when they try to silence you, stick it to them in the court of law. If they want to be idiots, I can be an idiot too, right? And so can you. It reminds me of when I was younger. I'm sure some of you folks would remember the Steve Martin movie called The Jerk. And in the Mad magazine I got when I was a kid, it had a cutout of Steve Martin's face, just like a little thin cardboard cutout of Steve Martin's face. And then you were supposed to like staple, cut a rubber band and staple it to each side, and it would be a mask of Steve Martin's face. and underneath it said, "Now you can be a jerk too." And I thought that was just the awesomest thing I ever saw. But and yeah, Cookie will tell you, Polk County, they are ready and willing to violate your rights. Step on up, folks. Step on up and play the game. Polk County, Florida. Grady Judd. You know, people like to, say he's this great sheriff, but there's a lack of accountability there that's wide enough for Optimus Prime to drift through. You know, an 18 wheeler could drift through this gap in transparency for Mr. Grady Judd. I'll tell you that much for sure. Cookie will attest to that. Oh, we got some guests. Sorry, guys, I didn't see you guys were in there. Hold on. I'm new to the StreamYards on my phone, but I got you in there now.
Hey, Rogue.
Hey,
What,
what's up?
what's going on,
What
guys?
what a couple of weeks. We got Press Harder that's finally out of jail. We got Bow. I mean, what a crazy couple of weeks. And when you talk about Grady, that's out of Florida, the guy that's always supposedly so transparent, right, and goes to the press all the time. If I know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's always
Yeah.
holding the press conferences talking about
Yeah.
how criminals this and, I would have shot him more times. And, just he's a disgusting human. He really is.
But what did you think about the People's case with Press Harder?
That was, again, disgusting as well. But, this is, why he's out there. He knows why he's out there. I know why he's out there. We all know why he's out there. Well, he's out there to expose just this kind of behavior, right? Because we know it takes place. And a
Right.
lot of times it takes place when there are no cameras watching. So, we're like, he's like running a front end type of defense, trying to spot these guys and offering himself up as a sacrificial lamb so that we can see these
Yeah.
guys and identify them and hopefully get them out of the ranks.
But what I wanted to touch on with that case, with him in Four Corners, is his attitude and demeanor and his beliefs. Okay, I don't know if he's ever been fingerprinted, but he went in there. He didn't tell his name. He refused to eat. And I mean, can we just touch on that a little bit? Because I think he was in there for 9 days and didn't eat. And as far as I know, are there any charges? I don't think there is.
I'm not sure of any. I mean, I'm sure press is going to give us all an update. I know Four Corners will definitely give us all an update. So I'm just kind of waiting on them to see what's going on because there's all kinds of things that go on in the back end. So I never try to speculate as to what might be happening. I'd
Right,
rather just
right.
wait and get it right from the horse's mouth because it can be multiple different statues that they've tried to use, and
Mm-hmm.
even talking about it, what it could be. Could give the prosecution ideals, so I don't even want to speculate on any of that stuff.
Right, right.
We'll
But the
hear.
fact, my thing is, if he's never printed before, that's amazing that he went through and denied everything. They actually stripped him down and then wouldn't clothe him, and he's like, well, I'm not gonna, clothe myself. I just felt that it was very different, and just wanted to, get your thoughts on it.
Well, it's part of civil disobedience, and I think press does it as one of the best. I mean, he's really setting his convictions. So be them
Hmm.
right or wrong, whatever somebody thinks about what his thoughts are or whatever. But he definitely stands behind them, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a guy that's willing to do what it takes to
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. But
you
I
know
mean, what I'm trying to get at is, don't you think it's a little different than how the rest of us would have handled this? You know what I mean?
oh, well,
I,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
I'm gonna get dressed. I'm gonna eat. When I go to jail, I
right.
eat. And that's just the way it is. I don't. I never turn down the mystery meat. You know what I mean? Because there's no telling what it is. It's such a surprise. I'm always excited.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody wants to eat. We used to call I think it was the Salisbury steak when I was in jail. They called it brake pads because it looked like some kind of weird formation of meat that they. And he was talking about, there's a difference between what comes on your tray and what comes in a brown bag. I just, I'm so, um, I don't know if you've watched and listened to everything he said with him in Four Corners, but I'm very intrigued by him. And it makes me feel like he's never been identified. How could they hold him for 9 days, right? They took him to the hospital. They couldn't identify him. So, I mean, much love to press harder, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, he would be the person to ask those questions to,
Right.
because he would know if he's ever been identified or not, or anything of that nature. I mean, I don't remember specifically offhand any time that has occurred,
And
that I
then
know.
there's the other situation that happened with Bao, with the whole Karen Reeves or Karen whatever case. He showed up. They had a buffer zone where nobody was allowed, and he was talking with them. And the next thing you know, he gets slammed up against a vehicle and gets arrested. And I saw Lackluster did a video on that too. And I just want to ask you, what you thought about that?
Well, the same thing that I was talking about earlier in the evening is that the First Amendment journalists, especially non-mainstream journalists, are under attack. From the elected officials, law enforcement.
Absolutely.
I mean, these guys don't want us coming around, even asking questions. See, it's not just the recording that gets these guys riled up. It's not just the recording that makes them upset. It's the fact that we're actually asking questions and trying to get records and looking where the
Yep.
money's going, and doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
um, they
The
could care
whole
less
the whole
about
time
money.
he's saying, "I will comply. Just tell me what's going on." And he's talking with one officer, and then another officer just comes up and slams him and arrests him. I mean, you know, that was um it's almost like they were pinpointing him. You know, I feel like they had a grudge against Bao on that case.
Well, they figure it was early on too. I believe it was the first day of the trial. So they got this new buffer zone. Here comes Bouse, coming into the buffer zone. They're going to make this guy an example, so that way
Mm.
the rest of the hearing, they don't have people coming into the buffer zone. Um, I could
But
definitely see that factoring into them, bum rushing them like they did. to try to set some kind of precedent.
Yeah.
It's no different than going into prison and smacking the baddest dude in there.
Hey, Major Lee. Hey, George.
What's up, flying auditor? What do you got?
Well, hey, thanks for having me come up. I'm going to be headed out to, well, let me backtrack. Hey, Major Lee, when I saw you here recently talking about the first, what's going on with the First Amendment, it's so odd because I was exactly thinking the same thing. And I want to say thank you for doing that because I asked my wife this, and maybe you can address this. Why isn't that all the courts in the U.S., federal and district, if something's done in the 4th district and something's done in the 11th, why is there such a disparity in commonality of trespassing or just the nonsense they pull out, like all the stuff that's been going on in all these council meetings? I'm headed up to Lawrence, Kansas, to meet with Lawrence Accountability and Doc, which is the dreaded rabble rouser. I'm going to be going up there. I'm coming in from a 2-day training with a Navy SEAL to do some arms training, which I hadn't done in years. And I'm coming down because that just pisses me off what goes on. But getting back to isn't there a commonality? And I have yet to have somebody answer that question for me. Every district has a different reading on common BS that everyone in the community that gets busted for. It's a different reading in one district, and then there's a different reading in another district. Can you have you addressed that before, Major Lee?
Well, I think that's basically due to the different regions and how different people that grow up in different regions have different ideals or thoughts. Like the Pennsylvania Dutch versus the Georgia or the Florida cracker, which is not actually a racial term. Florida natives are known as crackers.
Right, crackers, right?
Right. So
I lived in Florida. Yep.
Right. So I know sometimes people use it as a racial term, but it's not actually a racial term.
Right.
But so there's a difference in how we approach different things, and that's why the judicial system is set up the way it is. The common law is the case law and the customs of the society. So the state of Florida has different customs and cases than the state of California per se. Just like Texas and California, you got Texican that's ultra conservative, you got California that's ultra liberal. Obviously, the customs and the cases in those states are going to be wildly different. So there's obviously going to be some disparity there in the laws. So.
Gotcha. It's a hard thing to get my head wrapped around. And I know you got some guys on here that are going to add a lot more value. I just appreciate you allowing me to pop on here. And hey, if somebody wants to come up to Lawrence, Kansas, I just found this out that Sean Reyes was up there a couple years ago and experienced some BS. But just what's going on in Florida with Tallahassee, Clearwater, all the places that are just throwing people out left and right for speech. To me, I mean, it's becoming more and more egregious. And I God bless. I mean, this will be the first time I'm coming to a council meeting, and it's going to be a funny one. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to record it. It's going to be, hopefully it gets televised. I've got some very special gifts to hand out to council members.
There are so many people and auditors. I mean, people that aren't even auditors that are being banned and arrested from speaking at these public meetings, and it's sickening.
Well, hold on there, Sci-Fi Brian. We got a new guest that showed up, and he's got some of the answers you were looking for.
Oh, yeah. What's up, people?
Yep, people's here. So what's up, Pete?
Yeah.
Hey.
So
Did you hear me?
We were wondering, buddy, have you ever been identified?
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Have I ever? I mean, I have an identity. Yeah, I'm one of the people. That's my identity.
Right. But what we're looking for is like you refusing to identify yourself, right? They can't identify you by your fingerprints because you've never had your fingerprints taken. Is that correct?
Where'd you get that idea?
Well, because
No, they can do what
of
they
what
want.
just
They're the
happened.
government. They can call me whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. I can't
Okay.
control what somebody else calls me, just like I call cops bitches. If they can't stop me, right? They can do about it. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Unless I call myself a name, right? What matters is what I do. I care, right? I'm not going to call myself a name, right? But that doesn't mean somebody else can. Right? That's ridiculous. Of course, the government has a name for everybody. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm not, I don't. Oh, we're back. You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can
No,
hear you.
yeah,
Yeah. No, they, do what they do. I don't pay much attention to what the government does, right? But I know that they will figure out how to get rid of it, and they always do. I don't need to. I don't need to worry about it. They wheeled me out on a stretcher. Okay?
right.
Right.
But
I didn't agree to leave. Okay, they kicked me out. If they wanted me there, they could still have me. If they do it again, I might make a mistake. Just kidding. I would
we're
do
having a
it
hard
again.
time. We're having a hard time hearing you. At least I am. Is that right, George? Um, a little
Yeah,
bit of,
yeah, it's cutting a
but
little bit. Yeah, it's cutting a little in and out here and there, but I can hear you pretty well.
Hold on, I might
Um,
be able to fix that. Hold on, let's see.
I just want to. I want to say, people, from what I've seen and how long you were held, and I mean, they disclothed you, and then wanted you to reclothe yourself and all that stuff that I saw. It's incredible. I mean, the in the non-eating and everything, going to the hospital. Is there any kind of lawsuits or anything coming up with this?
How would I file a lawsuit without a name?
Right
I'm
on.
not a sovereign
I
citizen,
agree.
okay? I don't
Right.
go around saying I'm one of the people, and then when it's advantageous, go and use a name. I don't use a name, and that's my belief, okay? I won't do it. And I freely give up all the privileges that are offered for that name, okay? It is everybody's right to use a name if they want to get privileges. If they don't want to use a name, they can give up all those things, like going to Walmart and buying alcohol, getting on an airplane, filing a lawsuit, right? All those things,
Absolutely.
owning property. You don't get to do
Yep.
those without a name, right?
Yep.
And I don't care about any of those things because none of those things are right. Right are for the people, and they shall not be named. But citizens,
Oh, you cut out.
and
yeah,
those
you did.
require a name, right? And that's why it's going to come in and stop that, because that's not freedom. In order to have freedom, you have to have the option of privilege or righteousness. You can't force somebody to be righteous, just like you can't force them to be privileged. There has to be two options.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I agree. I would love for for Rogue to comment. Are you there, Rogue?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm here.
anyways, all right.
Um,
Can you comment on what he's saying?
as far as what?
Well, just his idea of, it's different, right? Don't you think it's different?
Well, it is different than what people have been taught in mainstream, but I
Right.
mean, a lot of stuff's different. Do I think people are ready to? And by people, I don't mean the gentleman here on our panel tonight. Do I think the public is able to wrap their mind around, legal fictions and implied contracts and, social contracts and, everything that has to go along with, uh, basically being a legally responsible person. I don't think most people are ready to deal with that aspect yet. So it's hard, when people are, and again, not the young man, but when the public's faced with something new and something different that goes against their beliefs, they tend to strike out viciously against said different items. So there's always that to worry about. Um, when you're talking about going against the grain, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't explain it that way, though. I do think that if you explain it like you did, yeah, the public is not ready to grasp that. But they are ready to grasp the concept of you cannot be on the high ground and the low ground at the same time. And you can't have high ground without low ground. Okay? It requires both. If you go to church on Sunday and then get back to business the rest of the week, then you're climbing the hill, but then getting off the hill. Right? One is righteous and one is privilege. Okay, you can't have both at the same time. The water doesn't grow or the water doesn't flow on the top of the hill. The food grows where the water flows at the bottom of the hill. Right? That's not the high ground.
Yeah.
That
So
makes sense.
people, I understand everything you're saying, but you don't want to hold these officers and this, you know, accountable for what they did to you. I mean, I understand, withholding your identity, right? And what you did for 9 days and didn't eat. You went to the hospital. I watched all that. I'm a supporter of Four Corner and you, okay? But here we are.
No, I
Police
don't want to
officer
hold
needs to
anybody.
be held accountable.
No, I don't. I don't think so. It's that same logic that is why we have police officers that are out there doing this shit, have to hold accountable. That's vengeance, right? You're going through vengeance. Okay, you need to press on and not dwell on. Go forward. Stop following through. Right? If you're following through, you're following. You're a follower. People aren't followers. They're leaders. They go forward. Right? But you can follow if you want. I'm not criticizing you. But that is a different path. Right? If you want vengeance, if you want to hold them accountable, right, then, maybe, but money does
Right.
not, is not going to bring back anything, right?
No,
Time is what matters. I know this. I care about my time, right? And I'm not going to go and waste time filling out paperwork, asking daddy government to settle my squabble when, first of all, they know who their daddy is now. Okay, they know, right? Like they know what's up. They don't want no part of this shit, right? So they have been, brought to their knees, right? They had to give up. They've never given up before. This was the first time, right?
So
I
let me
never
just ask
acknowledged
you, they still have never identified you, right?
You're really stuck on that, okay? I have an identity, and only one. It's one of the people. I don't
Okay.
give credit. That is my identity, okay? They can claim anything they want, just like you can
Okay.
claim anything you want, right? You can call
Sure.
me a name, but if you call me a name, I'm not going to like it. I mean, it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to bother me, but at the same time, I'm going to be like, well, if you're trying to be my friend, don't challenge my identity. You see what I'm saying? And so everybody's like that, right? Like if a man wants to change into a woman, you might not agree that they're a woman now, or you might agree. But if you challenge their identity, you're going to piss them off, and you're not going to make friends, right? And if you go along with their identity, then you might make friends, right? But names can be hurtful, right? If you
I
like your
agree.
name, then you're going to like it, right? But if
I
somebody
agree. And
dislikes,
we're all born into slavery and into this ideology. We all have a name and a number, right? And it's wrong.
they are creating a number, and you're allowed to use it if you want to access privilege. Okay, that is a gift. It's an option, just like in the Garden of Eden. You have to have the forbidden fruit. That's the forbidden fruit. Okay, you're offered the forbidden. I mean, it's there. It's not offered. You're not supposed to take it, but it's there. It's very alluring. It's very attractive. It looks like Disney. If you go for that forbidden fruit, then you can have everything you want. But you'll never have what you need. You'll only have what you want. And what you want is not what you need, right? And it will never fill that hole. It never achieves happiness. It's
Right.
the pursuit of happiness. The people do not pursue happiness. They stand on the hill, and happiness comes to them.
All right.
Right? I don't need to ask them out. They will
I
let me out when we
hey,
figure out how to do it. I don't need to ask them.
right. I hear everything you're saying, and I agree, brother. Much love, but the whole fact of this cop was a sergeant, and now I think he was a lieutenant, right? Giving you
Yeah.
orders,
Yeah.
and so there's not going to be any kind of accountability as far as on your part, right?
Oh, hell no. I didn't. I take no responsibility. I shirked responsibility.
Right.
That's rule number 10 of the fraudulent commandment. And yeah, I take no responsibility, right? I'm the judge. I decide whether what I did is right or wrong. And because I know that I did nothing wrong and that I'm on my high
Right.
ground, that's why I can go
Absolutely.
9 days without eating. You can't go 9 days without eating if you're not on your high ground. If you don't know 100% that what you're doing is right,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Right.
only your opinion matters, right? If you think that that guy in the robe is the judge and he's going to judge you and you give a fuck what he's going to say, then he's going to judge you, right? But I don't give two fucks what that judge says because I know that they're going to be wheeling me out no matter what they say, right? I know they are, or they're going to be wheeling out a dead body, right? They got two options. The clock's ticking, right? So, I'm willing to let this body die for my right, right? And I know where I can be, where I can't be for my high.
Well, I gotta say, it's probably the most badass case and video I've seen this year, man. As far as somebody, getting kidnapped, which is what happened, for speech in this country. And then, like I said, going through everything that happened with you, I'm not going to sit here and go through every little thing, but you didn't eat for like 9 days, right?
Right. My record is 34. My record is 34 days.
Wow. That's just, I'm glad you're out, and I'm glad you're here to tell us your story. And holy shit, this has got to be definitely the most fucked up case that I've seen so far in 25.
Well, it's just different, okay? Don't try this at home, right? If you want privileges, which most everybody does, and I'm not criticizing, if you like your house, your car, your girlfriend, your friendships, your the things that you own, your vacation, and yada yada. Well, think about those things before you go trying to exercise right. Opening your mouth, right? Because
Absolutely.
running your mouth does have consequences, and they
Yeah.
can take privileges. But right, okay, but right do not.
Okay,
Well,
he kind of faded out there.
Pay the bills. They don't keep you
yeah.
on time.
You're fading, homeboy. I don't know if it's where you're driving or what.
Yeah, what a great interview, though. I
I
give
know
them all props. They kidnapped him, put him in. They couldn't identify him. He didn't eat for 9 days. They took him to the
They wanted
hospital.
that.
he's
4
back.
times we went to the hospital. It was my coup de grace. Oh, was I fading out again? We're losing
Yeah,
signal off and on. Sorry. I'm gonna be like that up here.
you're on the move,
Yeah.
007.
Yeah. Nobody knows where we're going. It's top secret and shit.
That's right.
Yeah.
On the move.
You know how I do that, folks. The reason
That's
I
it.
got on this panel was to say thank you to you, bro, for making that video. I saw it. I loved it. I want some more of it, bro. That's why you're the illustrator of influence. Shit.
I love
Thank
it, buddy.
you. If I could
Oh,
see
yeah,
like this whole community
Yep.
came together and
And
showed up.
I would have did the same thing, but after I got arrested, I wouldn't have did the same thing as you. And that's where you went above and beyond fucking with these tyrants, and I
Yeah,
loved it.
the people are on top, right? The government's on bottom, and citizens are below that. Okay, so servants of the people are not servants of the citizens, right? Citizens pay the taxes. They're not. The government doesn't work for the citizens. Citizens work to pay the government to protect them. So people, they don't pay the government the taxes, right? I don't pay taxes. I don't sell anything, right? You only pay taxes if you're selling things. There's no such thing as a buyer's tax, right?
Right on, man. You are a unique auditor. I mean, I appreciate you.
But I do audits. Okay, Rotation does audit,
Sure.
but I fraud it. Okay, there's a big difference. Right? I don't know if you heard that, but no, I definitely fraud it. Rotation is an auditor. Okay, he doesn't shirk responsibility. He doesn't claim to know everything, right? I know everything, okay, and I will shirk responsibility, right? But an auditor, will take responsibility for some mistakes that they make, right? Not me. That's a fraud.
Yeah, me and people we've hung out and we've had lengthy discussions, and I know exactly where people's coming from. Like I said, and that's why he knows when I said that people are ready for the understanding of the legal fictions and
Hmm.
uh, constraints of the mind, like nation states and political entities and political subdivisions and all these things that surround us that are in these law books and all these other things, but we don't understand them. So it's
Hmm.
hard for us to maneuver through them. But he knows because like he said, I've got a wife, I've got kids. I
Right.
can't live the life that people does. You know what I mean? Like I can't live that life, so I don't even attempt to try it. I got to do what I can on this side of the legal aspect of it, but I know exactly where he's coming from. I
Right on.
support exactly what is what he's saying, but very few people should ever attempt to try it because most people are waylaid by their beliefs, right?
Yep.
Most people get sidetracked by what they believe and it sends them off into a tangent. They get a hold of some government disinformation. The next
Hmm.
thing you know, they're signing a birth certificate with purple ink and they're taking it to the Secretary of State in Minnesota. And they're just giving the government a red flag. Like, here I am. I'm a free thinking man. Come and arrest me or come, put a watch on me by the local
Hmm.
PD. So yeah. A lot of people should definitely, stay, I guess, more in tune with starting slow rather than just going full force. But um, yeah, we've had lengthy discussions and we've had a lot of good interactions too. We worked together down here in Florida, and we went up to North Carolina together and worked up there with NC Tyrant Hunter. We had some good videos that we put out.
Well, press harder. I just want to say thank you for standing up against those fucking tyrants and doing everything you did while you were fucking kidnapped. I heard everything about how they stripped you down, everything, and I just want to say much love, man. It's crazy because not everybody is going to do something like that.
No, but thank you for doing the things that citizens can do. Okay, you have a name. You use your name and you can do things that names can do. I can't do that, but I can do things that people can do. Right? It's not there's a difference, right? And Rogue, I never go down into the weeds, right? Like you keep saying that the citizens aren't ready for this legal fiction stuff. I haven't said anything about that. You're talking about persons, right? I'm talking about people. I've never gone into the weeds about legal fiction.
Well,
Right?
right. No, I know. I'm just
Right? That's
saying that.
person,
Right. No, there's all
right? We
kinds
need
of
to start with just pointing
right.
out the difference between people and persons. That there is a difference. That it's clearly articulated in the Fourth Amendment when it says the right of the people to be secure in their person. If we can see that people are in their person, then people are not persons. And persons are not people. Persons are something that is around people. People are inside their person, right? So the other, they're not interchangeable words. So
Right.
that's the
Right.
first step, is acknowledge.
Right. But what I'm saying is if people, the public, look into that, then usually what happens, and what I tend to find what happens, because as you know, we talked about this, I was in that community for a long time. And what people tend to do, the public tend to do, is they'll allow their beliefs to direct them in a certain manner You know, and usually, I'll be honest, usually a lot of them tend to go with the state national under L.B. Bork and the Red Amendment, his teachings, which are crap. A lot of them will go, you know, to the Moors. A lot of them will try to go with the, you know, the free man on the land type deal. Um, and a lot of them just don't realize, like I know you do, like you just, you know, hinted at that, you know, we're talking about statuses here, and you know, there's not a lot you have to do to correct the status, but with the internet and with the way people think, the government has put out a lot of disinformation in that community, to where it's making people go about it the wrong way, and they're getting themselves arrested, right? Like all these right to travel guys, they're you know, getting in these cars, they're throwing away their license plates, and they're throwing away their tags and their driver's license, and they're driving, and they're getting their windows smashed, and they're, you know,
Yeah.
breaking their stuff. And the sad thing about it is there's a right way to go about that, right? Like there's totally a right way to go about that, but even then, in the end, you've accomplished absolutely nothing, right? Because all you're going to do now is spend your time in getting your car out of impound,
Yep.
going to court,
Through the
because
system.
right, if the cops don't understand basic laws like ID laws, then they're not going to understand more complex ideals like title law, and you know, how something is private versus you know, it not being private when you register it with another person like the state, right? So they're not going to understand complex ideals like that. So I mean, you're just gonna, you know, be getting pulled over like we already see in these videos. You're gonna, you know, go to jail. They're gonna take the car. You're gonna have to go to the judge and
Yeah.
explain it. And
Yeah.
even then, there's no assurance that that judge is going
Exactly.
to understand title law and understand, you know, what it is that you're trying to get at. I mean, even law that you think is simple and easy to understand, like in our case, in the Social Security Administration case, um, they're not understanding it. Like I had to tell the lawyer, I'm like, look, this is the whole thing, right? And the thing with the Social Security Administration case is, if you read 420, it says unless there's a security directive or a regulation, or you know, something of that nature,
Mhm.
then you can take photographs. But what they're trying to say is that their sign is a security regulation. But what they're missing, and what again, what my lawyers are missing, and what the court is missing, the judge is missing, is that nowhere in that statute does it give the tenant agency the right to make those security regulations and rules, right? It doesn't say the tenant agency security rules and regulations. The way they're saying that because it says that they can put up a sign, basically gives me the right to fucking put up a sign there, right? Because if they can do it, anybody can do it, right? Because it doesn't say that I can't do it, right? And it doesn't say that they can't do it. It doesn't say that they can. It doesn't say that I can't. So if they can
Right.
do it, I can do it, right? That's the thinking that they're trying to you know, put forward. But I told him, I said, dude, even with plain language reading of the statute, any kind of statutory construction, like what's not included is excluded, right? So there's another one stating that they can't enlarge a statute, meaning that they can't read something into a statute that isn't in there, that's not written in there, right? So if it's not written in there that the tenant agency can make a security regulation or rule, then they can't fucking do it. So it wouldn't matter even if they had made one, because according to the law, they're not allowed to fucking even make one. But I mean, so these guys are missing basic statutory construction shit like this.
Right. And
They're
let's get down to it. You know, when it comes to the law and these people that are supposed to, you know, abide by the law, they don't. They just want to send you into the system. And, you know, unless if you're smart or not, I mean, it's crazy. I'm sorry that press left, but holy shit, that was a hell of a case. Talk about.
yeah, he probably had some places to go. He would look like he was traveling,
But,
not
but
driving.
you know, we have a lot of newer auditors out here. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't get arrested. Don't get into the system. And I'm not saying to plead out, but just try when you're out auditing to know the law and know what you're doing and don't get arrested. If they tell you to leave or whatever, leave. Because once you're in there, they will screw you over. Can we speak on that, Rogue?
No, you're absolutely right, and I'm working on a system that's going to allow us to do just that, to go in and to do what we need to do without getting arrested, while still receiving standing to sue them if they violate our rights to be in these buildings. Because again, it's our right to
Mhm.
be in public areas and
Yep.
recording our public officials in the course of their duty. It's all right. It's just the way it is, right? Like, I put in. Well, I don't know if my lawyer submitted it to the court for the Social Security case, but I told the lawyer that the reason that the federal government has these laws, like for the
Yep.
post office, that's 39 CFR 232.1, I believe it is. And for the VA, it's 38 CFR 1.218. And for the GSA, it's that 41 CFR. But each one of those says that the news has the right to record in the public areas without permission, right? And the politicians didn't put those rules in there out of the goodness of their heart. They put those in there because those align with First Amendment principles. Okay?
Exactly.
First Amendment principles.
Because and then now we're getting into interference and obstruction, right?
Right. Right. For what? For what are you talking about specifically?
Well, I'm just saying that's usually what they will say, and try to charge you when you're trying to film and exercising your rights.
Well, and that's the thing, you have to remain calm in these situations, um, and a reason why a lot of times I've been more successful is because I remain calm, right? When they were telling me, it's almost like a trademark of mine when that, oh, you
Mhm.
can't film here, you can't do, no, it's okay. I de-escalate, I'm like, no, it's okay. You're fine. Everything's cool. you know, and what we say and do matters out here on the field.
It
And
absolutely does. I mean, if you're out here saying "fuck you, pig," right?
right,
Um,
and this is all
yeah,
right. Don't get me wrong, but there's a time and there's a place for every kind of expression to do and to test and what have you not. Um, and again, I'm not gonna be the one that decides that. If somebody wants to, go through City Hall, yelling "f you, f you, f you," whatever, that's on them. I again,
yeah.
is
Usually, when I say that, I'm on the public sidewalk. I'm not in a building because Um, that's just me, but
Well, here's my thing: is that when people are exercising their rights, as long as they're doing it lawfully, then I have nothing I could say. Even if I don't care for the way they're exercising it or what they're exercising it about, I don't say anything. It's be hypocritical of me. And
okay.
if they're exercising it in an unlawful manner, then usually the police will take care of it, and that'll be the end of it. Whatever. So I don't really, get too much.
Hey, let's get into a little something different here. What do you feel about all these auditors that are filming banks and on the public sidewalk and filming banks?
Listen, I'm a firm believer that everybody needs to know the First Amendment, not just politicians and law
Absolutely.
enforcement. I believe that even citizens that work at banks. I think the American public has gotten complacent with their education. A lot of people, they'll go to high school, some even go to college, and they'll imagine that their education is complete and that they're a well-rounded person, and that they're the epic of knowledge, they've reached the pinnacle. And I find that not to be the case. The more that I've learned, it seems, the less I know. And I think most people that continue learning through most of their life figure that out, is that
Right.
the more we learn, the more we realize there's so much out there that we still don't know. Whereas
Absolutely.
at like a lot of the bootlickers, they feel they've reached that pinnacle of knowledge, and that's why they sit around and they talk about people, and they don't so much talk about ideals and ways to move things forward. Like, these people know that they're getting screwed, right? They know it. There's no way that they can't know it. There's no way that these bootlickers don't realize that their property taxes are screwing them, that their city council members are screwing them, that their state representatives are screwing them, right? They have to see it on the news, right? They're supposedly well-rounded people, right? They have to see that shit on the news. But yet
Right.
they go against their own best interests,
Yeah.
their hatred of us, because they don't like the way we exercise our rights, or what have you not. But
Well, I mean, you see auditors now a lot of times. I mean, within the last couple of years, I mean, I've been an auditor for close to 8 years now. I don't know when my channel started, but you see these guys filming banks and filming from the public sidewalks into restaurants and whatever, and
well, there's two types, right, that I know of that are doing this kind of activity. And one type is a silent type, and I'm all for that, because again, I'm all for the educational aspect, and I think a silent audit can educate as well as, if not better, than
yeah.
a speaking audit, right? Because in a lot of instances, then what happens is the people call the police, and the police educate the people. And when it comes from somebody that they hold in authority, a bootlicker holds a boot in authority, right?
Mhm.
So when an authority comes out and explains it to them, they take it.
No,
It's a lot easier to swallow that medicine than if it comes from some schmuck out on the side of the road, because I'm always wearing some
absolutely. Yeah.
or whatever. But, and then there's guys that go out, and a lot of guys are out there to agitate and get clicks.
Right.
And
What I'm trying to get at is, some auditors, they've been doing banks. And because that's kind of like a concern for the banks to be filmed, it's been kind of a trend. And I just wanted your take on that, as far as banks.
again, I don't mind them. Again, as a matter of fact, to
Sure.
me, banks are committing some of the biggest fraud in the country. So
Absolutely.
I definitely think that they should be under the gun of accountability and transparency. I think if the American public could get over their beliefs and realize exactly the fraud that the banks have got going on, that it would be an incredible spectacle of revolting against
Mhm.
anybody and any banking institution. Like, um, I think it would be crazy, an emotional
Right.
and adrenaline dump for people, because just the magnitude of the fraud is just
Yeah.
astounding.
But
So
it's been do you agree it's been a trend lately that frauditors want to stand out in front of banks and be on the public sidewalk? You know, I'm a you know I don't want to call myself a First Amendment auditor or whatever, but if I see something, I film it, right? But
right.
I'm not gonna go out there in front of a bank. I have, right? But you know, it just seems like a trend lately, and I just feel like, man, you know,
Where
I've
where are
seen,
where are these taking place at too is where you got to look at. But also, again, this, and I've talked about this before. People a lot of times support drama more than they do change, right? Because people are more about instant gratification, right? So, and you could see that with like High Desert Community Watch, right? For example, he got a lot of subscribers, got a lot of views because he put cops in their place right then
hey,
and there.
let me tell you something. He's a good friend of mine. I have his phone number, and I talk to him all the time. He started me in it. It was him and you know, a couple other people like 10 years ago, and I totally know what you're talking about.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. So he would put them in their place right then and there, and then people love that. You know what I'm saying? To whereas somebody
Yeah.
like Jeff Gray that will go out and get arrested, and it has to go through the
Okay.
lawsuit
Yeah.
process, right? And just go through that. Now, what High Desert would do is he was always out on the public sidewalk, right? So
Right.
he was
He was always about 38 point G.
right. Right. So
Yep.
he was. So when people look at auditors and where they audit, you got to take into account certain things, right? Like so, High Desert, he was always on the public sidewalk. That's the safest place you could be, right?
Yep.
California specifically has laws that protect photography,
Yep.
unlike most other states, right? So he was protected that way as well. So, what he's doing is something totally different than what something me or somebody else that's going into a building is doing, right? The same thing with like cop watching is totally different than what
Right.
someone going into a building is because it's already accepted and widely recognized. And there's court cases and court cases and court cases saying that we
Yep.
can record outside, right?
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's not that's not the forefront of our fight. Our forefront is inside of these buildings, getting these officials on camera. We're not getting any matters of public interest from the
Right.
official walking from the parking lot into the
Yeah.
building.
What we're getting is malpractice and um training that is you know, more training, and people that don't even, you know, there's security or police, they don't know our rights in these public buildings.
Right, exactly. And so that's why I'm saying what we're doing is pushing the boundaries of those rights now, because we have the right to do it, but because of their ignorance, it
Yep.
seems like we don't, right? Like when you started, when I started, Any building you walked into, you were guaranteed to be trespassed from, damn near. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Damn near any building you walked into. Now I can walk over half the buildings you can walk in Florida. They don't even give a shit now. You know what I mean? And the only reason that there's the other half is because the state, the cities, they keep hiring new people that are stupid and didn't get the training. They weren't there when we came through the first time, stuff like that. So we constantly have to revisit. So
Yep.
I mean, you can tell a good activist by his actions and not just his words. Does he have revisits? Does he, revisit over time, months, years?
Does he
Um,
know the laws, the statutes?
right, right. Is he, getting complaints? Is he getting requests? Is he filing lawsuits? Is he,
Yep.
doing the things that he should be doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's a hard battle. It's not glamorous. It's not paying a lot of money. But in the end, it's worth it to me. As long as I have enough to keep going and to keep my family happy, then it's totally worth it to me. But for some, maybe not so much, and for some, the cost is high. Like blind justice, he had like a fifty thousand
Oh my
dollar
God.
you know so
Yeah.
I mean the government can hit
Oh
you.
man, you said blind justice. I haven't heard that name in a minute, and he's been kind of out of it. He used to do a lot of audits, man, as a veteran.
Yeah, I mean a couple, I was going to say maybe a year or two ago before I got on probation. I was hanging out with him and we did a couple audits up in North Florida. um
Yeah,
but
him and his wife are awesome.
no, yeah, the whole family's awesome. They're just a great group of people, and he's a great activist as well. And he's still releasing some stuff here and there. He's got some updates here and there on his channel and whatnot. And just great people, great
Yep.
activists. And,
Yeah,
uh,
I've been following him since he was doing stuff with who was it? NC Tamara Hunter
well, I know he started
and
up in Washington.
North Carolina. I'm trying to remember the name, but I think he's from the north.
Well, he did some stuff with Tyrant Hunter, yeah, but he started
Yeah,
up in Washington, and then
right.
he moved to North Carolina. Because remember, up
Wait,
in Washington, that's where he got locked in. He got locked in that fence yard, whatever. Remember?
oh yeah, and he's a veteran.
Yep.
And they want to always limit him. You know what I'm saying with his devices. Talking about you can't have this. Well, he is a blind, disabled person and a veteran. He needs these devices. And that's what really got me connected with him.
We got Ordinary County in the house. This guy would love to come up and chat. He
Hell
always does.
yeah.
I'm trying to post a link.
But
I don't know if I got the
um,
link anymore. Hang on, let
I'm
me.
trying to think what the other, besides press harder, there's another thing on my mind, man. It's been crazy. Oh, yeah, the bow thing. We didn't touch on that.
Well, we did a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know, and AEC, there's the link, brother. If you want to come up, I think I posted it. Um,
That was crazy how they slammed him. I mean, even if you're trolling or whatever, and
well,
you've been there, right?
right, but
He said he missed a sign. He's just walking on the sidewalk, and he even knew the trooper. He's like, "Hey, what's up, Mike?" And next thing you know, this dude is slammed up. I mean, it was sick.
I do believe that Bao did serve in the military, Pigletine. But here's the thing, I'm pretty sure this is right, but I could be wrong. But I think Bao was talking about knowing about the buffer zone before he went in there, so that might trip him up come time for court. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be weary about all kinds of stuff when you're out on the
Okay.
field. You know, just like I'm sure everybody remembers the sticker debacle that I got involved with at Walton County because they
Oh
saw
yeah.
me stick a sticker on a street sign
Yeah.
of live streams, right? Like,
Oh my God, dude. I
dude,
mean,
that shows you how petty the
yep.
state is, right? How petty they are and how willing they are to come and violate somebody's rights because you got to remember, I did a whole investigation on that. We went to the
Yep.
city, road department, and we asked, how much damage we inflicted upon that street sign and their estimate, and they said about $50 worth of damage to
Huh.
that street sign. Now you have to remember that Walton County put out a warrant for my arrest. They picked me
Okay.
up in Seminole County, Florida, which is about three and a half, about 4.5 hours away from Walton County, and
Wow.
they held me in Seminole County for I believe 7 days, and then they transferred me to Tampa, and I was there I believe like a day and a half, and then they finally released me because they were going to transfer me to Tampa and then transfer me up to Walton County, but then they ended up releasing me. I spent like 8 or 9 days in jail
Man,
over.
all because of a sign.
Right, all because this little sticker on the sign. Um, and again, and that wasn't even the end of it. After I spent 9 days in jail, they still went forward with prosecution. But luckily, I was able to work out a great deal, pro se, that erased all that because again, I
Damn.
was guilty. I did put the sticker on the sign. I'm a firm believer in if you do the crime, you should do the time, and I'm a firm believer that if you break the law, you should pay for it. And now again, that doesn't mean I agree with all the laws because I don't. More than half of them need to go. Uh, but
Right.
we have to do about it the right way. We can't just be anarchy and be like, well, we don't agree with the law, so we're just gonna disobey it. If I get caught speeding, I get a ticket, I gotta pay it. So it is what it is.
Well, I was very excited to hear if Erie County's here to come up. Is he still in the basement or whatever?
Is he in the basement? Hold on. Kicked myself out there. Oh, ADA's in the stage. I don't see Ordinary County though.
ADA. What's up?
Not much. Just I lost the link originally. I was up here at the beginning and I lost the link. Sorry.
No, you're fine, brother. Can you hear us?
Oh yeah, I hear you guys. I just trying to prevent my mic from echoing too much. That's why I keep hitting the mute button.
What's the topic on your mind, man?
Oh yeah, I can hear you guys. I can hear both of y'all just fine. I know you were talking about the blind blogger.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I both target Americans with Disabilities Act too.
Right on. MCC's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Tommy Woods. Good to see you always. One of the best guys. Tommy really hooked me up when I went out to California. I
Yeah.
absolutely love meeting subscribers on the road. I met Judy for Freedom. I met Tommy Wood out there. I met so many subscribers. Viral Tuber I met up in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right
Alabama
on.
Transparency I met up in Gadsden. I met a guy called Mississippi Mike down southern Mississippi, and uh, just a lot of good people in this community now.
Yep.
Um, so I'm thankful for all the stuff that has been able to happen. But
Yeah, I've been out with News Now California, and I know Tommy Wood. I mean, I never met him, but yeah, good people.
the news is in the house as well. Carrie, Tom Shaw,
So 88, you're in here, man. What's up?
Howard's in here. I mean, all these people, all these supporters in here, they've been following me for years. So, I cultivate a certain type of membership, people that understand
Right.
change takes some time, but, results speak louder than,
I
any
keep hearing
bravado.
Major Lee Awesome and you at the same time.
What's that, buddy? I didn't hear you. You cut out. What'd you say?
I keep hearing both of y'all at the same time.
I'm not sure why. Can
Keep
you
your
hear me?
mic on. Keep your mic on.
Okay, that's what the problem is. I keep my mic on and you can hear yourself echoing, right?
Oh,
No,
are you?
you sound fine to me. I mean, I don't know.
Well, what's happening is he's got the YouTube channel open. You got a YouTube channel open, like a YouTube
Yeah.
screen, not just the StreamYards?
I just clicked from YouTube to StreamYard.
All right, well, quiet the YouTube that you just came from. It's probably still playing. That's why you're getting the echo. We're not hearing an echo. I'm not hearing an echo. Is
Yeah,
anybody
you
hearing an
came
echo?
from YouTube and now you're in StreamYard. So you need to delete your YouTube. And it's all good.
You don't have to delete it. Just close out the window.
Yeah, just close it out.
Well, that's the problem.
Okay, where are you from, ADA?
I believe
I live
South
in
Carolina.
the capital city of Columbia, South Carolina, right outside of Fort Jackson.
North Carolina? Okay.
Yep,
What's
yep.
up?
I remember sharing some of his videos from down there or up there. Excuse me, because I'm down from him. But yeah, I like South Carolina, and South Carolina's got some pretty good laws about um, how the trespassing statute doesn't apply to public property, and I've actually got
Oh,
some things done in South Carolina. I made it so that we can record in the health departments there. I got a memo sent
wow.
down from the state after that one guy.
Really?
Yeah, that one guy. Remember that one guy tossed me out of the health department up there in God, I don't even remember where the hell the city was now. It was
I'm trying to
east.
remember. How long was it?
It was a couple years back, but I went back a couple
Okay.
times. I went back
Yeah.
a couple times, but I think that guy ended up leaving that spot. I don't know if he went to a different spot or if he got fired, but so did the manager.
Department of Mental Health Police.
Yeah, when me and Skip went back, they
Mm.
they gave us the grand tour. So,
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
yeah, we had
Okay.
a they had a memo that he sent out like the day after that happened, and me and Wrights Crispy Finn, we took it with us. I want to say it was maybe Orangeburg. We were at the health department down there, and that's when the guy came out. We were on the sidewalk. It was during COVID, and they were testing for people outside.
Mm.
He come up to us, and Wrights Crispy
Oh
was
my
talking to
God.
Dorothy, and the and the guy said, "What did he say?" And I was like, "He wants to know if that's unisex cologne you got on."
Man, I remember back in COVID. Damn, that was the hardest times. They wanted us to drive around with a mask and just have a mask and no.
No, I didn't like having the mask on, and so
But I want
when
to
they
hear
did,
what ADA has to say. He hasn't said much. Are you there, ADA?
I might be up here just to listen and hang out.
I'm
No, that's
I'm here.
cool.
I just keep hearing both of y'all at the same time.
So,
Yeah,
where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was born in Fort Jackson Army Hospital in South Carolina. I'm in the Columbia
Okay.
area.
Do you film the police or do audits?
Yeah, I like to ride my electric bike, and the fella that I ride with also has an electric bike. His bike has functioning pedals, and it's not required to have a registration. My bike
Yep.
doesn't have functioning pedals, so I have to register it as a 50cc equivalent moped.
I
And police will
absolutely
see
know everything you're
them go
talking
by,
about. I'm
and
into
they'll say,
electric
"Move your bike."
bicycles.
And then the next thing you know, they're passing me to stop him, wondering where his tag is. And they
Oh,
think he's on a dirt bike on the street that's not legal, and it is perfectly legal. It's got functioning pedals and all. And
okay.
yeah, so I report and get them like that.
Wow. So you have video of this stuff?
yeah, I've actually shared some
Oh,
of
I
his
do.
stuff on
I
my
do. And I
channel.
go to police, and I'll go to police departments and do ADA checks. I go right to law enforcement. I target them, and I target the court system as well. It's the judicial system that you need to bring into compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act because they're not in compliance with it. And if you can get the judicial system and law enforcement all on the same page, well, then the things that I have done, I've done for the benefit of others that come after me.
Wow.
Absolutely, because retaliation is real, and once you start exposing the holes and the issues with it. Now, and see, when it comes to the ADA, all you're doing is enforcing the laws that they themselves have made. You're only asking them to do what they said they would do, right? We're not out here asking for some extravagant stuff. We're not out here panhandling to the government saying, please, oh please. We're just saying follow the freaking law that you yourself created, right? It's not. This isn't rocket science. We're not out here asking for something that's impossible, right? Like, oh my God, there's no way that this could ever be done. You're asking for something that's not humanly possible. It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? You made these laws, you enforce them
Yeah.
on us. Obey them your fucking self, right? If we're a nation of laws, and that's what makes us so great, and these laws are so great, right? Oh, this is a great law. We got to pass this law. It's so great. If it's so
Yeah.
fucking great,
And what's sad is the police are taught to put civilians into submission. And as soon as they're not willing to go into handcuffs, you're resisting. A lot of times it's unlawful, but yeah, crazy,
yeah, yeah, and
crazy. You know,
well, the thing
um,
about it is that it goes on because people have allowed it to go on because again, there's that comfort level.
you know, well,
In
the
the
people don't know their
public,
rights.
well, right, everybody knows that, but what I'm talking about is that they have that comfort level that they don't want to disrupt, right? Like when I told the story about Chris Love down in Davie, Florida, how the city went after his
Oh,
wife's
yeah.
job, how they
That
went
was like,
to
hey.
Yeah, how
That
they
was a
went,
crazy story, man.
right, right. So how they went after his neighbors with the code enforcement,
Yep.
you know. So there's repercussions to standing up. So it's not as easy as some might think. Oh, I just go out and grab a camera and I'll just walk in there and record them and call them pigs or Nazis if they try to stop me and make lots of money and all this other stuff. I mean,
Right.
um, there's been
Yeah,
heartbreaking here for some
you can do
people.
that, but make sure you know what you're doing.
Well, right, but people don't obey that, dude. Look at Radio Girl, Radiohead Girl,
Right.
or Rage Radio, or whatever her name is. She watched some of Sean's videos for like a month and grabbed a camera and went out there and started recording. And the next thing she knows,
Absolutely.
got 6 arrests, and she's
Got a
crying
charge.
on
Yep.
YouTube about how auditing ruined her life. And I'm like, auditing didn't ruin your life. Auditing hasn't ruined my life. I've been doing it for 6 years. I mean, it's definitely put a crimp in my style, but it hasn't, ruined my life.
Yep.
Uh, it ruined your life because you went out there half cocked, and then you thought everybody was going to come to your rescue and bail you out, and
One thing is don't watch YouTube videos and think I'm going to go out here and do some shit. Research, know what your state statutes are, um, and know what your, boundaries are. Um, it, as far as I know, anywhere in the nation, if you're on the public sidewalk, you're good to go. But, you know, there are certain statutes and certain things you need to learn. And people just, need to wake up and do the right thing.
well, right, but here's okay now. It seems like it would be easy, but that's the whole trick of the thing, right? That's why
Exactly.
you need lawyers, right? That's why the lawyers get paid big money, because if it was just as easy as reading the statute, we wouldn't need lawyers, right? Because the statutes are in English, right? It's not in like Latin, right? Like when you go look up your state law, it's in English. So it should be no problem, right? But that's the thing. That's the trick. You read the statute,
Hmm.
you think you know what the law says, but you don't, because the words that you're reading don't mean what you think they mean.
Absolutely. It's like
Because,
you're an American citizen, but they make you, you don't know the language of the courts. And they send you through the courts and they fuck you up.
well, right, that's what I'm saying. Just saying, oh, just if everybody read some statutes, we'd be good.
Mhm.
It really takes a little bit more than that, because, again, it's the same bias, and people still have the same, confirmation bias and the same beliefs, that they had, when they're looking at the right to travel, or, whatever else they're looking at. So, um, it's definitely a tricky situation, but there's a starting point for everything. And when it comes to reading the law, the starting point is understanding how the words work and how they phrase the law, which it's called statutory construction. So, and there's books on statutory construction, and the rules of statutory construction, and such like that, so people that read the statutes can understand them. um and again, this isn't just some guy that's laying tile during the day that comes home and is like, oh, I know the English language. I'll bust out the statutes and know exactly what's going on. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I'm trying to tell you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people.
What they want is for you to go into the system. They want you to make a plea. I mean, you don't ever want to get arrested because this is what's going to happen. They want you to take a plea. They don't want you to fight it. And that's your right, you know.
Right, absolutely. They're gonna definitely want you to try to take a plea. I mean, that's how they keep the courts moving, right? That's why the defense attorneys, the public defender,
Check the
most of
chat
them.
button out when you
Okay,
can.
yeah. Now I'm getting an echo from your ODA. You have to mute that. You're definitely on YouTube on one of your screens. That's why you're getting that echo. You've got a YouTube window open somewhere.
But that's the difference between people that don't know or they're bootlickers. They just think they walk through life and they're gonna respect the police and do whatever they're told. And then there's us, other people that observe them from afar, whether you're a cop watcher or you know, these are the differences, right? They're gonna, you're gonna get caught up if you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, of course, and you're not going to be able to defend yourself in court, which we see time and again people losing, um, making the wrong arguments. I mean, even the right arguments get rejected, but definitely the wrong arguments do.
Man, they put me through a year, and making me think that I was guilty. I never pled, and my charges were all dismissed from filming on the sidewalk. You can check my videos if you want to, but what they did was they dragged me through the system for almost a year. And I finally, that's why you always tell people, hey, whatever happens, just don't get arrested because you're going to get into the system and they're going to do whatever the hell they want. They're going to say, you better have proof. You better have a good lawyer because they're corrupt.
Yeah, that's right. If you get a chance, look at the chat and look up that U.S. Supreme Court case.
Which one? Oh, you got a private?
Yeah, right here in this chat in StreamYard.
Capel versus C. Lee Carter the second, or is that just a separation? You got that YouTube window open, brother. That's why you're getting that echo. We'll look that up though.
Not wearing headphones, so whenever y'all are talking, it's repeating.
Yeah. Again, there's a YouTube window open because when I talk, that's what gives me the feedback coming out of your side. My voice coming out of your side is the YouTube channel being open.
Yeah, I found that and fixed that already.
Okay, good. Papa Lo, tell what to LIA.
I'm sorry, what?
I was talking to somebody in the chat. I'm about ready to wrap it up though. It's been an hour and a half we've been on. We've been chilling. So
and the outcome of that case was Director Leroy Smith of the South Carolina Department of Public Safety doesn't work there anymore. And now, if you go to the South Carolina Department of Public Safety's website, you can do a search for Disabilities Act, and you'll see their ADA notice posted like it's supposed to be, and all that good stuff. All
Is
because a
it,
state trooper on the side of the road said, uh, I I'm gonna search your car. You want to get your dog out and hold your dog, and I search your car? I'm like, no, I don't give you consent to search my car. Number one, and he says, all right, well, we'll call a dog. Get a dog, come over here. I said, nope. Then my service dog is in that car, and if you do bring a dog, I will call it a false hit all day long. I've got treats in there for him. I've got his toys in there, and my dog smell is in there. And you're not doing that. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. And all because that trooper said, well, what's your disability? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you with all the traffic going on. And I'm looking at the two York County deputies' body cameras. And I hear the state trooper say again, what's your disability? And I said, let me advise you of something, Trooper D.W. Jenkins. You have just violated Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act right here in front of these two York County deputy sheriffs. You are on duty in uniform as a state trooper. He goes, I'm also a volunteer firefighter. I said, your priority job is state trooper. You are out here disguised as a state trooper. You are not acting as a firefighter right now.
yep, yep. So that was your case. Now, did that make it to the state Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court?
That's why I said search for the U.S. Supreme Court. I represented myself all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
My man, congratulations, sir. That is an astounding and amazing accomplishment.
Thank you. So then after that, and you won't see how it got settled. That is being withheld. So, but you'll see that the case made it to the Supreme Court. But you will never know how it was settled.
Well, right on, right on. Yeah, I know what you're saying there. Um, and Piglet said it's like 30 grand to get a case started, and I gotta contest that. Like the gentleman next to me said, he fought the case himself. It is possible. There's been other people. James McDowell is another gentleman from down in South Florida. He's fought two cases now to the 11th Circuit and gotten a victory on one and a partial victory on the other. Um, and to start a case is only $400 for the filing fee, and then you got to serve the defendants, which run you $40 to $80 per defendant. Depending. So, I mean, it's a lot cheaper than people think. Now, if you go with a lawyer, of course, it's going to cost you 30 grand. That's for him just to get out of bed in the morning. I mean, that's the whole gimmick, right? The whole gimmick is they don't want you to learn the law, because if you do, then that takes away all that sweet money from them, right? And again, you
Hey,
don't.
check this out. Just so you know, I'm disabled. Okay. I became disabled working on an ambulance. My first 2 weeks at EMT school was EMS and the ADA. So it didn't cost me a penny to fight them. I had all the fees waived, and I was in form of paupers and representing myself, and all the court fees and serving fees were waived, and they were served by the United States Marshal Service.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If people can't afford it, uh, you can file for informal pauperous, which, and again, if you have a case that has merit, okay, because when you file informus pauperous, because I've done two of my cases in South Carolina now, informa pauperous, and what happens is you have to prove your case to the court before they'll serve the defendant. So that's a good thing, though, in my opinion, because then going forward if your case has any merit at all, right? And so even before the defendants get served, now in both cases I've had, the defendants have tried to motion to dismiss, but the courts have already, pretty much beat up my argument and found it that it has merit. So, uh, with the city of Easley specifically, their motion to dismiss went nowhere, and I'm waiting to hear back now for the one in the Michael Smith case, Barnville, which I can't remember if I got a reply on that or not. I'm going to have to look at that again. But so, again, it's definitely possible. And we're not talking about you having to go to law school to learn law. Again, if you just read stuff like statutory construction, and understand the significance that the words play in law, because there's all kinds of tricks. There's all kinds of tricks, right? I'll give you a specific example of a trick in the title law, in the Title 26 law, which is the United States tax code, IRS law. And I think it's 26 USC 7701 or 7702 or somewhere of that nature, but it's a definitions page, right? And when you read the page, it'll tell you that what they're defining are terms, right? And not words, right? So that's the trick there, okay? Is they're defining terms and not words. Even though it's words that they're defining, they said they're defining terms, which in law, now what you had to do was you had to be like, well, what's the difference between a word and a term? So you'd go and you'd look up what's the legal definition of term, right? And that would tell you what term meant legally. And so now when you go and you read the definition of the term and not the word, you can see where the manipulation is taking place, right? So it's really difficult because again, a lot of people have beliefs about what should be and the way things should work, and it's hard to get past that. um, and we actively we actively fight against it, right? Because nobody wants to know the truth, when it's an ugly
Exactly.
truth. Go ahead, bud.
Exactly, man. You're 100% right. I mean, on all everything you're saying is 100% right. And you know, I I watched the Easley thing, and I had a friend that used to be an Easley police officer that I went to Cannon Military Academy with, and he uh, he he has some insight information into what Easley is like. He's not there anymore. It was a long time ago, but I had a friend that was a police officer there at one time, which was kind of funny. But so I remember seeing you guys up there with Live BD, and Live BD and we know each other. We've hit the federal building here twice together. So
Yeah, and I've worked with Light BD before. He's a good guy. He seems to be a pretty righteous dude. So, again, that's what I said. That there's been a lot of great people I met in the community. Sometimes, there's been some misfits, but I try my hardest to avoid them. But um, it takes dedication. It takes perseverance. It takes years. Like my Alabama cases were going on years, 3 years, 4 years. Um, it's how long did your case take?
uh, I filed it. I want to say in 2014, and uh, then I appealed it, and it went to the Supreme Court eventually. And in 2015 was when they made a decision on the case. And I'm not allowed to discuss it, but you can look up the case.
I popped out of there for a second. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. I was just saying, you can look up the case. I can't tell you how it went, how it was settled, but you can look up the case in the U.S. Supreme Court, and see what they say. But I can't go into details how it was settled. But I'm glad that I brought it to their attention, and now they're complying. So that's what mattered most to me.
Absolutely. That's probably the most important part. With this Easley case, they had, the lawyer reached out to me and said that, he'd hoped that the revision had, worked the case out. But I told him it had not. There's issues with it. And I've talked to him since then. I've emailed him. He hasn't emailed me back since I told him what the issues were. So we'll see how that goes. Um, he's also being a stickler about getting discovery. So, um, what did one man say? Can't, as in not allowed. I don't know what you're talking about. One man in Japan. You can come on up, bud. I got the link up here. I've been putting the link up. I'll see if I got the link. There it is, buddy. You can come on up, one man. If you got a question.
Yeah, a lot of times the federal government will say there's no 11th Amendment immunities for noncompliance with Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. You must settle out of court.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, they definitely want people settling out of court, right? They don't want case precedent. They don't want anything of that nature because they want to be able to deny claims.
That's exactly why I can't talk about how the case went down, but you can look it up and see it went to the Supreme Court.
Right. Right. No, exactly. It's the same way with some of my cases. They don't want people to know about settlements or anything like that. They definitely try to deny. Um, that's my damn pothead wife. I'm just playing. But they definitely try to deny any kind of responsibility for their actions, any kind of liability for their actions, which again is just disgusting behavior. Like people make mistakes. It's understandable, right? If you make a mistake, but again, we know they're not making mistakes. They're doing this on purpose, right? They're doing this with a reason. They're doing this, because they want to, right?
Yeah, I guess they get a kick out of suppressing the public or oppressing the public, I should say.
Well, right. It's not just a kick. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's power. It's not about money. These guys have more money than they'll ever be able to spend in their lifetime. It's and all that paper money doesn't mean crap anyway. They got land, they've got resources. I mean, they understand what wealth is, right? They're not fighting over Federal Reserve notes, right? They don't. None of that matters to them. They've got gold, they've got oil, they've got land. So that they understand what that is.
Oh yeah.
We got one man in Japan. What was the question you had there, buddy? I wasn't quite getting what you were saying. Can you hear me? One man, you there?
Hey, one man from Japan, you there?
You might have to hop back out and hop back in, maybe. We'll see. I know he had a question. We'll see what happens, but um, yeah, that's what to me panels should be about is discussing ways to overcome these issues that we're facing, be it doing pro se lawsuits, be it requesting records, be it Ways to avoid getting arrested while we're out auditing. Um, we need to focus more on doing some of that.
Pass it this way. I want some.
I don't know what you're talking about. If the FBI is listening,
And I'm joking too.
yeah, no, we're having a good laugh.
Nothing's happening.
No, nothing to see here, citizen. Move along, move along. Oh man.
Oh man.
But yeah, Piggleton says mic check. um, but yeah, dude, just you hope for something better. Um, as always, you hope for a better life and world for your kids and your grandkids. And um, I don't know, it doesn't always play out like we hope. Um, who knows? Maybe cryptocurrency will come and save the financial system. Maybe we'll get a new lease on life. But I mean, as far as freedom goes, I mean, it's a far stretch away, right? And it's definitely further away the less vigilant that we are, right? Because under a government, people can only be so free, right? Because the government is still the controlling power, whether we like it or not, right? They're the ones with the guns. They're the ones that make the rules. They're the ones with the courts. So, I mean, we can yell and scream at the top of our lungs all we want, but at the end of the day, it's their system that we have to abide by. So, the best advice that I could ever give anybody is to learn their rules and learn them better than they know them, so that way you can beat them at their own game, because it is a game, and most people lose. Most people that think they're winning are actually losing. So, it keeps a smile on my face because most bootlickers think they're winning, but they're actually losing. And when it comes time to them to lose, um, maybe they'll be remorseful, but again, chances are they'll just blame someone else. It's always the other guy's fault with a lot of them. It's never their own fault. It's not their responsibility. You know, so whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just like uh the vigilante told me that the people would not talk at all and would not assist at all. So I contacted um, the Farmington, New Mexico Police Department, asked who their ADA coordinator was, and you know they're like not in compliance with that at all right now. And contact San Juan County and discovered they do have somebody there. And so I contacted him, and he seemed to believe that he's also over the jail. And I'm like, is your office in the jail? When was the last time you did a 28 Code of Federal Regulations 35.152 audit to see that your jail was in compliance with Title II? And uh, that was
Yeah,
on the 29th. I blind carbon copied you those emails, and I did that intentionally so you could see what I was up to. So maybe you could learn from it. But I blind carbon copied you those emails just so you could see the kind of pressure I was putting on the guy. And then they lawyered up. And uh, now I have to go through their attorney to talk to him right now. And I'm like, well, should I pursue it or should I back off of it and let the people handle it from here? That's where I'm at with it.
right on. Sounds like one man's in here.
Hey, one man, what's up?
Can you hear us, buddy?
One man, hello.
All right, not sure what's going on there, but I hear some kind of noise coming from his device.
Yeah, I'm not hearing.
Life
Uh,
after sirens. I believe he's in South Carolina too. Aren't you life after sirens? I could be wrong. Maybe North Carolina. I also did a video on Life After Sirens. Life After Sirens, if I remember correctly, is an EMT worker. Illinois. That's right, Illinois. Good to see you. Steve. So if you guys haven't checked out Life After Sirens channel, definitely go ahead and check that out. And that's EMT worker. Um, again, having a run in with the government, right? Even people that work for the government have run-ins with the government. The video released earlier tonight had a city councilwoman that was arrested because a gentleman was in the audience recording a city council meeting, which is totally legal. And city councilwoman, the mayor, wanted the cop to come and search the guy's freaking phone. Like, it's unbelievable the gall these people have. Um, And again, you would think that this is common sense stuff, right? You would think that you just can't order somebody to search somebody else's stuff, but these people just don't get it, man. Um,
How about?
Okay, I can hear you now.
All right, I had to dick around my mic setting. Sorry about that, man. Hey, how you
No,
doing?
you're good, buddy. You're good. How you been?
Up and down. My job sucks, or rather, the company sucks. The students are great, but the management and such. Yeah, they can do one.
I feel you. I feel you. Definitely got complaints with management at my company as well, but we do what we got to do, right?
Yeah, well, one of these days I will find something that is something better.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, the thing earlier was ADAT2 was saying he can't talk about the case, and my question was just can't or not allowed. But then he clarified it later, and so my question was rendered moot.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Um, yeah. For those that don't know, One Man in Japan is another longtime subscriber of the channel, a good buddy, and he does a cooking channel there on his stuff, and it's pretty
Cooking,
neat.
cooking and travel. I actually had a premiere that apparently overlapped with yours and slightly over MCC's. I did a little over an hour and a half walking from my neighborhood all the way out to Ten Nose Isle, which is not close, but very scenic.
Nice. I'll definitely have to check that out. It's always nice to see new places and stuff. So, um,
If
yeah,
I
definitely.
recommend watching it on a larger screen, and if you run it in the background, it doesn't matter how you listen to it. If you pay close attention, put on like headphones, not earbuds, but actual headphones, and you can get a little bit more of the immersive experience.
Excellent.
But
Excellent.
it's fucking long. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's all right. I can always listen and watch while I'm typing some stuff up.
There you go.
So, yeah, definitely something I'd be interested in. So
And
yeah, I mean,
MCC actually like got a few people to come watch for me. So that was nice of him. I need the watch hours for sure. But also, you know, it's hard to walk for an hour and a half and basically stay quiet.
right, right. Well, I mean, there's lots to talk about. I mean, there's lots of stuff on people's mind, you know. I think people now more than ever are questioning everything that's going on. So,
Oh, I just meant in the video. I don't narrate my walking videos. I'm saying.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
No, there's always plenty to talk about.
you do the silent audit, huh?
Well, what's
Uh,
what's funny is that one of the regulars said something like, people don't get bent out of shape when you walk around with a camera. And I said, well, no. Although to be fair, I'm not standing in front of a building or looking through windows. I'm walking around with a camera in public, just recording. And people here kind of keep to themselves. They don't really, unless you directly affect them, they kind of mind their own business. And also, I obviously am not from there, but I think even if I were, cameras are, I mean, they're not a big deal here. If there was a Japanese guy walking around with a camera recording things as he walked, I don't think anybody would even pay attention if they noticed.
right, right. And again, like you said, people mind their own business, which doesn't happen here in the States anymore.
Yeah. I mean, if I did like a Main Street audit, then I might have people asking me questions.
Right, right. No, no. Like I said here, most people here don't mind their business. They want to jump in and tell everybody else how to do things or how to live their life or what they're doing wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's
Or they
pathetic.
demand to know what you're doing. What are you doing? What's the purpose? What's your name?
Right, right. Like I'm under any obligation to tell you, stranger, who I don't know, and anything about what I'm doing because you don't like what I'm doing or you don't think I can do what I'm doing. It's just it's I don't understand where that mentality comes from, bro. Like I don't like you said, you mind your own business. Like if somebody's not like coming over like right in my face filming. If they're filming from 10 feet away, they're just looking around, filming everything. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous, man. I don't know how this got started, but now it's widespread, and Karens are everywhere. And I know when it comes to the government, where that paranoia comes in at because they're obviously doing shady shit and any kind of recording equipment could catch them doing shady shit. So they definitely don't want that around. But as far as like regular citizens, like I don't understand. Like these are the same people that watch Extra, right? And they see these paparazzi like chasing these people down and putting the camera above their 12-foot fence so they could get pictures of Jennifer Aniston in her bikini and, flying drones over their house, and saying, this is how the rich and famous live. And you know what I mean? Like, and how in the world do you think me taking a picture of you in the library is somehow sacred when you go home and you watch Extra where you're directly contributing to these guys chasing after these celebrities, right, with their ad revenue, just like people support me through my ad revenue and my activities. um so
Well, I
it,
mean, the thing is though, I feel like if you don't want to be on someone's video, if you're out in public or if you're at work and they're going through the window, just turn away. I mean, that's really all it takes. There's a lot of tourists in this city. This is a major tourist center. Even where I live, I do see a lot of people. I think because we're close to the airport, there's a lot of people doing like Airbnb or guest houses or whatever. Uh, and if I see them, recording or narrating, I usually just turn away. I don't feel like being on their video, and so I just turn so they don't see my face. I don't really care. I care enough to turn away. How's that?
Right. And I'm the complete opposite. I want to hop in. I want to be part of their memory. You know what I mean? Like I'm acting crazy. You know what I mean? I'm the crazy guy now.
Huh. Well, the number of tourists in my area has skyrocketed in the last probably 12 to 15 months. So I'm a little annoyed. So I generally don't want to. I don't want to engage.
Well, yeah, see, and I grew up around down here with tourists, so I'm just totally immune to them now. You know what I mean? Like the driving, the stupid questions, all that stuff. I'm totally immune to it now. So,
No, if
um,
I get people asking me questions, there was a California couple I met at the train station a couple of weeks ago, and they were just they were worried about that they wouldn't take the right train out to unfortunately the farthest airport away. They were regretting not booking the near airport. They had to go all the way to Chiba, but they were like, is the right train to get at the right platform because our transfer time's only like 2 minutes. And we eventually figured out that basically they were going to the same platform I was. They were just going to take the train on the opposite side. And so, I helped them out. I'll help people if they need help.
right, absolutely, and that's the difference between like a tourist area and say Chicago. You're walking downtown, you ask somebody for the time. You're lucky if you don't get stabbed and robbed. So,
That sounds like an exaggeration.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Excuse me, sir.
Uh,
Actually, these days, if you say, "Excuse me, what time is it?" They probably anybody in any city would look at you and be like, "Do you not have a phone?"
right, right. But in some areas of the city, and that's every city though. I mean, you go to East Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, that place is like a war zone. I mean, just walking down the street's going to get you robbed, much less asking anybody for the time. Um, so yeah, which is different than a tourist area. When I moved down to Orlando from around the Chicagoland area, I was amazed because there was no graffiti on the buses. The McDonald's had like fake like gold tiles outside where people up in Chicago would have like desecrated that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
For like the inner city type deal compared to like and I understand why it happens down here because in the tourist area they like to keep the area looking clean, right? Because they're trying to get tourists here, right? So the same thing with like have you ever heard of Disney weather?
I haven't.
Okay, so down here we have Disney weather, and that is the news reports the weather a couple degrees different than what it actually is, so people don't think it's as hot, right? And that's so people, and again, it's all about what people think. So, it's a few degrees cooler. It's not so bad. I can spend a couple hours longer at the park. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of stuff caters to Disney down here, but part of that is the crime stuff. They try to keep crime off the news. They try to keep crime off people's minds down here. They try to keep the streets clean, the bums, pushed off to the side, because they want that image to keep that tourist revenue coming. You know what I mean? Like if tourists knew that a couple blocks down from the Magic Center, people get robbed and shot, they would stop coming to Orlando, maybe. You know what I mean?
Well,
Or
I
they
mean,
wouldn't
I
feel
believe
as
it.
safe.
I mean, thing is, though, as I recall, I mean, tourism is Florida's #1 industry.
It is. It absolutely is, and that's the reason why they work so hard to keep it that way, and that's why a lot of times when you commit crimes down here, they're so tough on people, right? Like there's been a saying always that they come to Florida on vacation, they leave on probation, they come back on violation, and I can attest to the fact that I've met many people when I was younger and I did stints in jail, for being an idiot. There were people that I met in there that were from other states that had done exactly that. A lot of people come down for spring break and or bike week, and they get loaded and they get into a fight, or I mean, there's numerous possibilities of things that go wrong, and they catch a charge while they're down here on their vacation, it's a big business, right? So um, yeah, it's just the same thing with California. In a lot of aspects and a lot of their in their touristy areas, they try to keep it a little bit cleaner. Whereas in downtown Los Angeles, it's damn tent city, and there's human shit every 5 feet.
No,
So
you're talking about the difference between, you know, Chicago and Orlando. You would find that same difference coming from Orlando to Tokyo because I see very few homeless. They exist, but I don't see as many of them. I don't know where they are. Um, but
well,
also there's also just a lot of places where like that would be vandalized almost anywhere in America, and they just aren't here.
well, right, but well, first and foremost, I think the Japanese people as a culture, I think they respect a lot more than the American public does. Obviously, they have a better and deeper respect for their elders, for their family members, and again, I think that's why you might not see such as much homelessness as you would in America.
Standards are way different than ours.
Right,
Also,
the
though,
same.
the low vandalism though is just that I think they tend to respect people's shit here. They respect boundaries and all that. So,
Right,
like
Very much so.
I see stuff just left out where like somebody leaves something out to they go run an errand, like leave something on the sidewalk, like a sidewalk. There used to be a sidewalk shoe repair guy, and he would just leave all of his stuff on the sidewalk when he wasn't there. And I was like, in the U.S., that shit would be gone the first night.
right,
Yep.
right. My buddy spent time over there in Japan. I think he was a Marine or whatever, but he had spent some time over there, and he had told me about getting drunk and passing out on the sidewalk out there, and how he would wake up and someone would have put like a newspaper over him to keep him warm, and he would still have his wallet.
Oh,
And
yeah, no.
I
You
was
lose your
shocked.
wallet here, there's a very good chance that someone will return it to the police with everything intact.
Right. I was shocked, dude, because anywhere here in America, I mean, you could be in Iowa, and if you're passed out on the street, your wallet's stole, bro.
And the cops will pick you up.
Right. Right. You
Get the
ain't
double
getting,
whammy.
right. You ain't getting a good night's sleep.
No, there's people. Public thing is public intox here. As long as you are not a danger to yourself or others, nobody fucking cares. You can. I've said this many times, and Rogue's heard me say this 100 times. You can at any day of the week, at any hour of the day, walk to your nearest convenience store, buy a fifth of whiskey, crack it on your way out the door, and drink it as you walk home. And it's legal. Nobody fucking cares. As long as you're not bothering anybody, they'll leave you alone. Now,
Right. And
the flip side to that is that if you are driving, and a lot of people in the big cities don't, but I mean, there's still plenty of cars. If you're driving, any percentage of alcohol in your system is against the law.
Ooh.
Any percentage. Yes. So,
Ooh.
however, because of the robust public transportation system and the proliferation of taxis, and now with Uber added to the mix, there's really no excuse to drive if you've been drinking. You've got so many options to get home.
right. And in big cities, like big metropolitan areas, definitely public transportation is, especially over there, a lot better than it is here in America. I mean, San Francisco has great public transportation, but it's one of the only cities that I've ever been to that really, I think would be comparable to something like Japan or even Europe or anything like that, because those public transportation systems are amazing there. They run on time. They're there.
Well,
Every
mostly.
15 minutes. Well, yeah. But um, at least it was like, again, I haven't been to Japan, but when I lived in San Francisco, I mean, the bus schedule every 15 minutes, all the way up until 2 a.m., you could take the public bus. And then there was the Bay Area Rapid Transit, the BART system. They had the Rice-A-Roni trolley that went up
Ting
and down
ting.
the, the street. Yeah, Rice-A-Roni. Um, so there was a lot of public transportation there, like you're saying. They had cabs, obviously, and this was before Uber, but
I think that was the Hallelujah tune, Rogue.
yeah.
The Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Ding ding.
Yep.
Hey, one man, I got a question for you.
Yeah, man.
I watch Brian636 a lot. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. I like to watch him ride his Kawasaki 636s and do stunts and such. He was in Japan, and traffic cameras got him a warrant for his wheeling through an intersection. And he can no longer go back to Japan, is what he's saying, because there's a warrant for him back there. And you think that would still be in effect today if he was to go back there?
I mean, how long ago was it?
Several years ago.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on stuff like that. I am almost completely ignorant of like Japanese law, court systems, things like that. But I mean, I can't imagine that stuff goes away. Maybe after, there may be
they use
some
facial
distant
recognition and all that stuff. And Brian was wearing a helmet, and he's always wears a sleeve with fake tattoos on it, so he can change that up every time he wants. So, but
I mean, if they don't have him by name, if they just have it as, subject matching this description, then he could probably slide in if he didn't look like it. But if they know who the hell he is, if they have his name, then yeah, I'm pretty sure they would snatch him as soon as he landed.
Rats. Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I didn't know what this.
Like Logan Paul was such an asshole when he came here, and I don't think they'd let him back.
Well, that's what I was wondering too, is because like even on the crosswalks, they got facial recognition cameras, and if you are jaywalking, you get a ticket.
I can't speak for. The major intersections where that might be true, I would never risk jaywalking because the amount of traffic going through. But like small neighborhoods, like in my neighborhood, people jaywalk all the time. I fucking jaywalk. If there's nobody coming, it's a small street. Look both ways and just fucking walk across the street. It takes you 2 seconds, if that. But and I've had cops like didn't look behind me, and there's a cop on a bicycle, and all they do, they don't immediately jump on you. They'll just be like, please wait for the green signal, and that's it. They.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious because I know that there are people that travel all over the place doing motorcycle stunts, and Brian636 is one of them. And people were saying, when you coming back to Japan? He says, I'm not. And he showed this picture of him from the intersection camera of him on one wheel going through a traffic light. So,
now, if he had, I don't want to say turned himself in, but if he'd gone to the cops or something and said, hey, that was me, and he'd like paid a fine or something like that, then he might have been okay. But if he just basically did nothing and then fucked off back to wherever he's from, then
that's what he did.
That exacerbates it.
Yeah, that's what he did. Because I hear that they're into public shaming people for stupid stuff.
It's not so much that; it's just that, like, cops here are not the arrest happy thugs that America has. They're not on power trips for them that I have seen. Most of them consider themselves civil servants. It is a job, and they are here to provide, public order. If you were in trouble, they would attempt to help you. But the flip side to that is that the conviction rate here is in like the high 90s. It's if there's enough evidence to get you to court, you will probably be found guilty.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, just like don't.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I don't plan on coming to Japan anytime soon. My grandfather hated Japan with a purple passion because he went to camp over here.
Consider it's how many decades it's been since he's been here, and also it just depends on where you go. Some people like to see the big cities. Some people like to head out into the country. Some people want to go places where there's a lot more English, like say places like Okinawa, where you've got the military bases, or even Yokosuka. There's a Navy base down in Yokosuka, and like during the day, it's a nice little Japanese city, and at night it turns into Little America, at least near the stations, at least near the base.
Right. Okay. I'm just curious because Brian 636 was in the Marine Corps, but not at the time that he was doing the wheelie. He's been out of the Marines for a long time.
Right. See, now, if he had been in the Marines and they caught him doing the wheelie, it probably would have been a lot easier on him because the law might have basically said, we're gonna let your people take care of it.
Yeah. That's good to know. But he's not in the Marines now, so whoops. Anyway. But yeah, that's something, and I've seen these sleeping pods that are dirt cheap. Have you seen those?
What is it?
It's a sleeping pod. It's basically
capsule hotels.
Capsule. There you go. Yeah.
I've seen them, and I've never stayed in one. I feel like it's something I should probably do before I die, but I live here now, so I guess I'm not in a hurry.
Right.
There are capsule hotels. I think they're generally in the bigger areas. There used to be a capsule hotel, like in my general vicinity, but I think it's a coffee shop now.
Okay.
Well, the pandemic ruined a lot of businesses, and that was, hotels did not fare well. So,
exactly.
Especially a hotel where you have a small space next to a bunch of people in a small space. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought it was neat because I was looking at, I was watching something on YouTube, and they were talking about, how Japan is and what's expected of visitors to Japan and what you should and should not do in Japan and what you might see that you don't normally see. Like
now,
kids
capsule
going to the
hotels are good
bathroom
for
in an
like
elevator.
well, like capsule hotels are good for like you're taking it like you're a businessman and you're out drinking with the boys and it's just so late that the trains aren't running and a taxi will cost the fucking moon. So, pay a couple of thousand yen and you sleep it off in a little, like you said, like a pod basically. And then the next day trains are running, you can go back home, go back to work, whatever.
Right. Wow. Okay.
I stayed in a hotel once that was like part rooms and part capsules. Like they had capsules on some floors, but rooms on other floors.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, I was curious about what it was like in Japan. I hear there's a lot of Western influence in Japan, but Japan is still Japan. So even with the Western influence, there's still a lot of traditional stuff going on too.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a nice mix.
Yeah.
It's one of the only places I know where you can be walking through a perfectly serviceable urban or suburban area, and then suddenly, bam, there's this really old temple or shrine just right there, next to a bunch of other buildings. You're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. Yep. So, but I was interested in that and wanted to know, and I figured you'd be the guy to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I know a fair amount just because I've been here. I mean, it's coming up on 11 years, but there's a great deal I don't know. So I'm by no means an expert.
Okay, well, it's a good thing you stayed out of trouble all this time. So
tried to anyway.
All right, guys.
What was that?
I'm gonna wrap this thing up, guys.
Okay, doke. Good seeing you. Good hearing you.
Thanks for having me up, man. Next time we got to coordinate because, like I say, I had a premiere that started about 10. Yours started, I think, shortly after that, and then a few minutes before mine ended, MCC's started. It's like, yeah, we all kind of picked the same rough time.
Right on. Mine was kind of seat of the pants. I did a premiere a couple hours ago, and some people said they wanted to do a live stream, so I figured I'd throw one up and just chit chat with everybody. So
mine was kind of seat of the pants too. I uploaded it probably 15 minutes before the premiere actually started.
Right on.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, always a pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we'll see each other again. And until we meet, as the
Nice meeting
start.
you, one man in
Yeah.
Japan, and majorly awesome. I appreciate you respectfully.
Yes, sir. You
Thank you.
you as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, 8822. Hey, 8822, is that your channel name?
You can. I have a Facebook group.
Right, but I'm
Under.
saying I'll subscribe to you if you've got a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I got a YouTube channel too. Yeah, on this. Yeah, I got a YouTube channel, same name. So
Okay.
you can look for the same emblem that you see here. That's what it'll have. So.
All right. Yeah, I'll see if I
And
can
I'm
find it.
always looking for volunteers for ADA Title II compliance, but you're not in the United States, so you can't help me with that right now.
I am.
All right. Well, good
And
night.
you can subscribe to mine if you want, but mine is not even close to First Amendment. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
here we go.
All right. Well, y'all take
S-
care.
Volunteer 88.
Tires at the farmers market.
Is this you?
Yes.
SC Phoenix Volunteer 88 Title II Auditors?
Yes.
All right. Done.
All right.
All right, perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for coming up, and thanks again for everybody watching. And as always, we'll catch everybody on the next one because there's always going to be a next one.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Later.